Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast, the show for all hunters and outdoorsmen alike. We get together, share stories, learn strategies, and have a fun time doing it. I'm your host, Brett Bovin. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, we do a live show on our YouTube channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Each week, we cover a new state. This week, we are in North Carolina. And I'm not going to do the rambling spiel. We all know what I'm going to say, basically, at the end of the day. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them during the comment section. We'll pop them up during the screen. We have the Deucer here with us tonight. It's been a while since he has been with us, so we don't have to fire him just yet. He's still on some good gracious here and there. But
and I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard. Everyone's laughing, by the way, but it's true because everybody's heard it too. Everyone heard it, right? They look at all, everyone's like, yeah, big piece of dog shit.
Yeah, he just has to interrupt me as I'm speaking. But whatever. That's why we're talking about firing him. Anyways, if you ever want to be a guest on the show, feel free to message on our social media platforms. We also, big important thing though, is we have a saying here is put your quarter in the slot machine. What I simply mean by that is to help share the show, help us get one new friend. I strongly believe hunting is a dying sport, a dying lifestyle, and we're doing our best that we feel we can to bring that deer camp feeling back to what it used to be back in the good old days, basically. And so all we ask is help share the show, put your quarter in the slot machine. Use code GP10, GP10, get 10% discount with Gilly Puck products. Go check out MAGNUS BROADHEADS and Grizz Media. All right, enough of that crap. It's August 20th, Tuesday. Like I said, we are in North Carolina, and enough of me jabbering. Let's bring our guest in for tonight. It's episode 99.
What's up, man?
What is up, brother? I already can tell the producer's already fucking shit up already here. So there we go. Jeez. Now you see why I'm contemplating firing him, because he just fucking shit up.
I mean, he's doing a better job than what I could be doing. I mean, I can barely run a cell camera, much less a computer.
Well, brother,
I don't even know how to read. So
I know. I swear. I tell my wife, I'm not teaching my kids grammar or anything like that. That's why I failed in Spanish class. I didn't fail. I got a C- because I didn't escape by. But it's hard to learn another language when you don't even know your own language.
yeah, no kidding. It's even worse whenever you can't even understand what the English they're speaking around us. Like, you can't understand nothing that they're saying.
Urban Pursuit, just smashing buttons. I love that one. That's a good one, buddy. Well, brother, for anyone that doesn't know you, can you give a little background about who you are?
Well, so my name's Cody Triplett. I'm from North Carolina, and I'm from deep in the holler Appalachia. I mean, it's about as West Virginia backwood country as you can be, and with the occasional cornfield every 3 miles or so. Up in a hunting family. I think everybody that I knew growing up was a deer hunter, which I guess that's kind of what started it. It was always you run into the back of the truck during deer season, see who killed one or not, and running all over the neighborhood trying to figure out, which one of the family members killed a deer. But then it kind of died off whenever I was a teenager, just because, you're a teenager, you're going to do teenager things. And then joined the Army whenever I graduated high school, and lived in Colorado and did not bow hunt ever. Didn't hunt a single animal while I was in Colorado, which I regret. And then I started watching YouTube, whitetail hunting, and then I came home, and it's been a fire lit ever since.
What were you just too busy to hunt out in Colorado?
Well, a lot of our training exercises, whenever I was in, would always fall during like either peak rut for elk or during like right October for mule deer, and I just never had time to go out there.
Oh, that's a bummer, man.
Yeah, and a buddy of mine, I don't know, he might be working tonight. I don't know if he's watching, but me and him used to ride around in the summer and look for velvet bucks. And I remember running into this mule deer. It's a place called the Divide, and Jordan, keep it to yourself.
Jordan Jones, Cody's 200 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal.
But there was in this little town. It's like as you crest into the Rockies from the Great Plains, there was velvet bucks everywhere, and one of the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life was in someone's backyard right next to the highway. And this deer, I mean, it was July 4th, and this deer was pushing 200. And it's 4th of July. I mean, he's still got the big bulbs coming out on his beams, big bulbs coming out on his 2s and 3s. I mean, this deer was unreal. I used to have a picture of him, but it's on an old phone, and I don't know where it's at. But this deer was a world-class animal living in somebody's yard.
Wow.
Real.
Doesn't it suck to see like those amazing deer in just a place where it's like, Argh.
I mean, I could have, if I had any kind of bread or anything, if I held my arm out of the Jeep that my buddy had, I guarantee you that deer would have walked up and ate it out of my hand. Okay, it was a tame animal at that point. I mean, it's a suburban, just like suburban whitetails. I mean, it was just hanging out in their yard. And I feel like a lot of them people that seen it probably had no idea what they were even looking at.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Man, it was wild.
We had it was a couple months ago. There was this family out in a city I won't name, but they had this pet doe, and basically everyone in the city knew that it was the pet doe. Basically, for them, it would come up. It wasn't fenced in or anything like that. It would just come up to the house. They feed it some bread and stuff like that, and they had a name for it, but I can't remember it. And long story short, for some reason, a DNR officer shot that doe for no reason at all.
Man.
And he actually, I think he got suspended. I don't remember much. I just remember it back from when it happened. But all I know is that he got suspended for it. I think he got fired possibly. It was just sad to see. I was like, man, this beautiful doe. And it was going around for years, and everyone knew about it, that it was their pet doe, and just randomly kills it.
Oh, man, that would suck. I mean, yeah. I'm not going to say I live in city limits in my 3-stoplight town. And we have does that kind of stay in our yard all the time, but I don't think they don't hang out. They don't like people, but I don't think our DNR officer would ever shoot one unless there was rhyme or reason to. But I could see a lot of especially the older folk that I kind of like to watch them eat apples from their yard or whatever, throwing a fit over something like that. They're pretty particular over watching their deer in their yards. So
they are. And the deucer texted me saying he got fired. So he got fired.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I remember hearing stories from my grandma and grandpa that they would just sit out in their back porch up in the UP and watch deer come up, and they just eat everything. And it's awesome to see that people still do that around the country, and for them to do that. And heck, I was mowing my lawn today. I see like 10 does just out in the middle of my backyard. I said, you got a month and a half left. You're going to have an arrow through you. My wife knows I wouldn't shoot the deer around my neighborhood because they're so used to people. I mean, heck, they were 20 yards away from me on my mower, and they just kept looking at me.
Man. Well, I'll have to get a picture eventually, but I right across the street, I've got a house and it's got apple trees in its backyard, and I got about 130-inch 8-pointer every day underneath of it.
Really?
Munching on some apples, and it's like, oh man, you don't know the danger that you're in. I got woods right here next to my house, and then I've got the apple trees right there, and I'm like, oh, I gotta be good. I can't be shooting deer out from underneath the neighbor's porch.
I remember telling my wife, it was towards the end of November, like 2 years ago, and I didn't get a deer yet. And I told my wife, like, honey, there's a doe in the backyard. I know I said I'd never shoot one of these deer, but we need deer meat. Go get my bow. It's in the basement. Go grab it real quick. I didn't do it. But.
Now, my wife told me that, Thanksgiving, I'm to spend time with the family and everything, which is fine. But I'm not going to make any promises on not shooting a doe at my in-laws' backyard, because there's about 20 does that come out in their backyard every day. And I mean, 20 yards from the back door. I ain't even got to leave the house. I can open the door and shoot through the door and shoot one. So family tradition is going to be fresh backstrap every Thanksgiving, not no turkey.
Like, I'm bringing the bow over to my parents' place just for a backup.
Yeah, what's that for? You'll see here in a minute.
We're gonna gut it, clean it, and cook it tonight, all in one.
Yeah. This is Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly. To talk about food to fork right away.
Yeah. It's a new source of delivery in our.
Well, buddy, do you find yourself down in North Carolina hunting more on private land, public land? Where do you see yourself hunting more?
Well, my area, I hunt mostly private. There is public, but the public that we have is, so I live on a county that neighbors where the mountain, or basically at the peak of the mountain where it drops off into the foothills, that's the edge of our county line. And there's two pieces of public right on the edge of the mountain. As you ascend up to the peak where we're at, it's all public land. It's like 3,500 acres worth of public, but it's a bear sanctuary.
Jordan Jones, tell him how you shot 3 does opening morning.
Jordan, I'll get to that in a minute. So Jordan cusses me over that to this day. But anyway, the public land that we have is, so there's the 3,500 acre piece, and I might be wrong. It might be a little more than that or a little less, but it's all bear sanctuary. And the guys that I know that do hunt it say that you've got a better chance of running into a bear than you do a deer on that property. In North Carolina is a very animal, because like trophy black bears is what North Carolina is known for, like especially coastal area. But on private land, you might have 1 or 2 bears show up here and there, but they're never really a problem unless you got a feeder out. North Carolina's a bait state, so bears will tear your feeders down or break antennas off of game cameras or treat game cameras like chew toys. That's aggravating, but most of the time, if you run into one in the woods, unless you get in between its cubs, if it's a sow and you get in between its cubs, they'll run from you. But I hunt mostly private, just because the public that we do have is nothing but either the side of a mountain or the peak of a mountain. Well, when it's 600 acres, it's called Saddle Mountain Game, or it's the area is called Saddle Mountain, and it is literally from the base to the peak of the mountain, and it raises, I think, 800 to 1,000 foot in elevation. No, it's got to be more than that. I think it's got to be like, now it might be. I'll have to Google it, but I mean from the base to the peak, like 1,500 foot.
Outdoors and more with the Squatch sighting. Hey guys, supporting Whitetail Advantage. Dude, brother Squatch, I fucking love you, man. Excuse my language, but I love that dude. Urban Pursuit, what's up, Mr. Squatch? So I want to talk about your private land, but I want to dive a little bit quickly in more of the bear hunting there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, maybe it's just me, but I've never really heard of bear hunting out in North Carolina. So is it kind of like a big thing down there to go bear hunting?
Yeah. There's a lot of the coastal counties are known for their Boone and Crockett black bears. Like there's outfitters down there that is just for bear hunting. And it's big black bears. I mean, I think Jordan, if you're watching, what was that state or the world record black bear that was killed on the coast? It was what, 700 pounds or something like that? 600 or 700 pounds.
Deuce, are you able to look that up too? 700 pounds?
It was
close to it.
It was
838
pounds black bear.
Holy crap!
Yeah. The biggest one I've ever got on camera was like touching 500 pounds. And it's a big boar that he's been on the property since I got permission to do it 5 years ago.
Do you dabble in a lot of the bear hunting out there, or do you have to get like certain requirements to do that?
So you can buy it over the counter license. I don't know how much it is for non-resident, but I know for resident it's like an extra $20 for your bear stamp. And it might be included in your sportsman. I actually think it is, but your sportsman license covers waterfowl, deer, turkey, bear, and it's like $50 for a resident. And then you get one bear tag, and bear season is like slap dab in the middle of bow season, like October. And then it goes out right around either right before or right after Halloween. It comes back in.
Jordan, NC is the top state for trophy black bears in the country. Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, sure enough. And then it comes back in. There's a late bear season, like in December. Normally after like October 15th, I'm not getting any more pictures of bears. Like they're normally done tucked away, hibernating. But I know guys that they'll run dogs for bears, and they'll run them all season long. And I mean, it's in season, out of season. They're not killing them out of season, but they'll be training their dogs to run bears out of season. It never stops. And
real quick, when is the bear season there?
I'd have to Google it, but it comes in October, and then it goes out. There's two different periods. There's in the middle of bow season or whitetail archery. It's in October, and it goes for 2 or 3 weeks, and it goes out either right before or right after Halloween, and then it comes back in December.
Okay.
It's like the same length. It's like 2 or 3 weeks.
Man, I learned something tonight.
Yeah. And I can't remember so there's some regulation with baiting. I'm not the one to talk to about it, but you can't bait, or you can only bait bears during season, but most of it's running them with dogs. Most guys that are big bear hunters are running them with dogs.
Because I know up in the UP, they Jordan, October 15th to the first Friday in November, then opens back up the Monday before Thanksgiving to the second Saturday in December.
Yep. I knew I was right around there somewhere.
I know in the UP, they generally do, it's more of a baiting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I don't know, because I used to, you could bait bears, and then some mishap with a guy baiting bears, got in trouble with game warden here, and I never really got the details on it, but I know a guy got in some deep shit over baiting bears. And I think it was baiting out of season, but I'm not for sure.
Let's dive back into your personal stuff, and we'll dive back into the state there. How are you finding mature deer, and how are you finding success?
So it's a lot of trial and error around here, because a mature deer is either you find a 2-year-old that's resident to the property that you're hunting and you got to watch him for 2 or 3 years, or you get lucky and one just shows up. We have a 6-week-long gun season here in North Carolina. It starts this first Saturday in November, and then it runs to January 1st. So we deal with a lot of young deer getting killed, and the bigger deer, either they completely vanish during gun season. That first Saturday of November, after that, like, your mature bucks are gone. There's a lot of summer scouting. Me and Jordan used to ride around every summer and glass up deer and try to get permission to hunt those farms and stuff. And that was about the only way we could find mature bucks. I've been pretty lucky. The 2 places that I've got to hunt, one of them's got a resident buck on it that's like 9 years old. This is my 4th year hunting. And my other place is pretty consistent on just a mature buck up sometime in the middle of the season. Most of them live in there's a sanctuary right across the road. It's about 150 acres, and they tuck up and live in that all year.
PSC Mobile Hunter made a comment, mostly baiting in Lake County, so it's kind of like in the middle part of Michigan for a reference point, and the upper parts of the zones in the Michigan. The UP is getting guides running dogs more. Oh.
I didn't know bears. I figured, well, I mean, up in your UP, you got wolves and stuff, don't you?
Yeah. There's been a lot more wolves lately, and we all know about the outroar of outside the hunting community of don't shoot wolves.
Yeah, you can. I'm going to pass on the wolves. I'm good on that. Y'all can keep the wolves up there. I deal with the toads. I don't want nothing bigger than that.
My favorite animal is the wolf, and I would hunt wolves if I had to. Yeah. I don't want to shoot a wolf because it just, to me, it's majestic. So I get where people are like, don't shoot the wolves, but at the same time, we're in the right because we gotta shoot them because we gotta control population as part of the ecosystem that we need to help control, and that's part of our job.
Yeah, and if we don't, the farmers, the cattle farmers, and anybody with livestock, they're going to deal with it, and you'd much rather the hunters deal with it than because traps, poison, shooting them in the guts, letting them run off and die. They don't give a shit. All they care about is their livestock.
Exactly.
As soon as they start killing their livestock, then that's a wrap for the wolves. They're game warden that got no control over them guys. I can go ahead and tell you that. The game warden might get notice or get some formal notice about it, but he's not going to stop them.
Jordan, let's hear some 4 a.m. back porch stories. Yeah, let's hear about the 3 does.
Okay. So this was 2021. I had probably 140-inch 11-pointer showing up every morning. And then he'd come back and like right at gray light in the evening. I mean, this is for reference, whenever I say 130 to 140-inch deer, like that's our 150s here. So this buck was showing up. He was pretty consistent, mature buck. He was probably 5-6 years old. And my buddy Daniel, who's I was in the Army with, and he's got a twin brother. Well, me and his twin brother went and sat where that buck was showing up at every day. And my buddy went to another property that I had permission to hunt. And it was not supposed to be a doe hunt. It wasn't supposed to be a doe hunt. I was going in and I was going to hang out for that buck. But if I get busted by a doe, it's kind of like a coyote. If a coyote comes in and turns into a coyote hunt, if a doe busts me, it's all of a sudden a doe hunt. I don't make the rules. I just like killing stuff. So that's what happened. And me and my buddy's twin brother both shot a doe at the same time. And
wait, you shot a doe at the exact same time?
yeah, I shot one doe and he shot the other doe.
Oh, I thought you shot the same doe.
No, yeah. There was two big mature does came in, and they walked. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Came in the food plot. They're milling around, doing what does do. And I was like, all right, these does are here. That buck will be here. Well, that doe picked her head up, and like we made eye contact, and she got weirded out, and she started stomping. I said, why'd you do that? Why did you have to ruin this? Like, I'm waiting for your mans to show up, and now all of a sudden you gotta die. So me and my buddy shoot the does, and his doe goes a little bit further than mine. And whenever we find her, that buck, my target buck, was standing 30 yards away, and he picked his head up out of a laurel thicket. And I got maybe 3 more pictures after that and never saw that deer again.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So lesson learned, if you walk or if you have a shooter showing up in the morning, hunt him in the evening whenever there's no deer out, because whenever we walked in, there was about 20 sets of eyes that we busted out of there. And then once we busted all the deer out, 2 does came in. Shot the does, and then he was on his way. And if I'd have just stayed out of there and hunted him that evening, I'd have killed him on his way there. Yeah. Lesson learned. And Jordan, he was like, "Hey man, you should probably do that," and I didn't listen. I was like, "I ain't gonna have nobody tell me what to do. Watch this." And I went for it. I only killed 1 deer that year, and I had to go out of state to do it. Because whenever I shot them 2 does, I didn't have another buck show up on that farm for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but watch, you don't shoot those does hoping that buck comes through.
Yeah.
And then you get nothing.
Yeah. That is a good way to look at it, but I don't know. I've learned more about that farm now.
Jordan, that's why I cussed him.
Yeah, he did. He was like, you fucking idiot, why'd you do that? And I was like, he's fun. I had fun.
It's fun slinging an arrow.
Yeah, man. We cranked him too. And then my buddy that was on the other farm, he called me. He's like, I just shot one. It was like the first deer he'd ever killed with his bow ever. And he was shook up bad. And to this day, bless his heart, he kills the shit out of deer, but he never hits them good. I mean, he shot like a 26-inch wide 8-pointer in Illinois last year and hit the femoral artery on its back leg because he had to take a knee in his tree stand to get a shot at it.
What?
He's the luckiest shot I've ever seen in my life. I mean, him and his brother both. I don't know what they got going on, but they're killers. It's just they hit them in weird spots and they still end up dying somehow or another. It's funny.
In this episode, this is how we show you how to kill a deer without shooting its vital organs.
Yeah. So, all right, here's good reference. My buddy's twin brother, the one that I doubled up with that morning, shot that doe right underneath her tail into the poop chute. And I mean, it wasn't like straight into her, like it was at an angle. And doe went 100 yards and piled up, bled out internally, hit the femoral along the tail somehow. Wasn't a drop of blood, but we tracked her by her falling down and like rolling down the hill.
What?
Yeah. I wish I still had pictures of it, but like, say this is the poop chute. The arrow came in and like cut the tail off, and hit the artery just like that. Like, we had to cut the broadhead out to get the arrow back, but she bled out internally and ran like 100 yards and died. And the arrow went in that far. It's the craziest thing. I have no idea if I did it. Yeah, it don't make sense. I promise you, I'm putting a hand on the Bible. Hand on the Bible. Promise you that. That's exactly what happened.
My question right now, though, is why'd you take the shot if all you're shooting it is at its ass?
Well,
did it turn abruptly at the last second then? Yeah. That's the only thing I think of.
Whenever we both shot, I guess the sounds of our bows going off together was louder than a normal bow. So by the time, and his was a little bit further away than mine. Mine was like 25 yards, and the one that he shot was like 30. So she had more time to react. And I guess whenever we both shot, she turned real hard. And I mean, it hit her right in the chute. He still killed her, though. I mean,
hey, that's one way to kill a deer. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Don't take that shot, but if you need to, it works. You need about that much. That's it, about that much.
So you're saying if I see the buck of a lifetime and all I got is an ass shot,
shoot him and do it. Absolutely. I'm taking that shot every day.
Why'd you take that shot? Well, you see, down in North Carolina, I know this guy that knows another guy.
Hey, all right. In my defense, they're from South Carolina. They just come up and hunt with me every once in a while. So.
Oh my gosh, that is the highlight story of the year for me.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, if I could, we need to do this again with Jordan, because the stories that we've got from that came off my back deck. Oh man, it's like this every time me and him's ever hung out. Like my first out of state trip, I mean, it's the same thing. I hit the buck that I shot him at 52 yards and hit him in like the back quarter of his body and hit his offside back leg. And then found him off of a patch of hair about that big sticking out of the water in a river at the end of an oak tree that fell in the water.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, see, I was my first out-of-state trip, and it's the second biggest buck I've ever killed. And I drew back on him. My brain went, meh, mouth didn't do it. Sent the shot. Shot went right where I was wanting it. Like my line of knock blurred out my pin. And, I mean, he just took a step and hit him back guts. I was like, oh, okay. Called the dog. Dog came and tracked all day long. Never found the deer. Well, got on blood, but never found the deer. And it was like my last hour of daylight. I was walking down the piece that I go out there and hunt. It's right next to the river. And there was a big oak tree that fell in the water. And right at the end of that water was a white patch of hair sticking out of the water. And that was how I found him. I flipped him over and rolled him out, and I like to cry.
All right. I don't know. Wow. Let's transition back in here to learning more about
yeah. Shoot them where you're supposed to. It makes it a whole lot easier to find them.
Dude, so let's get into the law enforcement, law and order segment here.
Law and order.
Cody, what are some laws in North Carolina that you might see that you might not agree with, or you might like to see changed, modified, whatever the case may be?
Gun season.
Gun season?
That gun season, that 6-week-long gun season is brutal on us.
It's 6 weeks?
It starts the second Saturday in November, and it runs to January 1st.
Holy crap.
Yeah. It's 2 weeks of muzzleloader. So the first Saturday in November starts 2 weeks of muzzleloader, and then it's like November 22nd or 23rd this year. Rifle season starts, and it runs all the way till January 1st.
Let's backtrack here. So when does opening day start for you to the end of hunting season?
Normally it's the second Saturday of September, but this year it's the second Saturday. It'd have been too far back, so they're going to open season the 7th this year, which is still right around schedule normally. And then archery season is, like I said, till November, and but it's normally second Saturday of September to January 1st.
And that's when your season ends, January 1st?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to hunt with a bow during the gun season?
Yeah, you can bow hunt during gun season, but normally the amount of pressure, like the county that I live in, the population grows probably by 1,000 during the opening weekend of gun season.
Wow. So I feel like that's the longest stretch of a rifle season that I've heard of.
South Carolina's got one longer. It comes in like the first or the second week of deer season. It's like comes in like stupid early, like October, and then it runs to January 1st.
That's almost like for me, I'm a bow hunter, so everyone knows my stance on gun hunting, but it's like a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I've learned is during our gun season, like I try to burn myself out completely because I'll go out of state for 2 weeks and hunt. And if I've punched a tag here and I've punched a tag out of state, I will try my best to not hunt at all. Because if I don't hunt, it gives the deer that I'm trying to grow essentially a better chance of survival if I just stay off of a section of the property. That way they've got some sort of a sanctuary to keep them out of the neighbors. But if it's right in the middle of the rut, and our rut, peak rut is like 2 weeks later than normal. So like everybody else's rut's like firing off first, second, third week in November. Well, ours is like the third and fourth week in November into like the first week of December. And it's different on different parts of the state, like central North Carolina. It's pretty in line with the rest of like the Midwest, but here in the mountains, it's just a little bit later. Where Jordan lives, it's like middle of December whenever his rut really fires up.
So it plays right in the hand of rifles and PSC Mo Hunter. Damn, I thought it was bad in Michigan. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
I was just getting ready to say that.
And the amount of little bucks that get shot.
Jordan, Eastern North Carolina comes in October 15th to January 1st.
Yeah, gun season does.
Okay. So are you wanting to lessen? I mean, like shorten the gun season?
Yeah. So I like it's a 2 buck limit state, which is fine, I guess. But
sound reluctant with that.
Yeah. So I think if we could just go to like a 1 buck state in a shorter gun season, I think we could put North Carolina back on the map on big deer, because like there are big deer around. It's just they don't have a chance whenever it's everybody hunts or everybody leases. Like I tried this year to get permission to hunt a bunch of farms, and I sent out probably 30 letters to landowners, and every response I got is it's leased, it's leased, it's leased, leased, it's leased. And I mean, it's all leased up for gun season. Like as soon as gun season starts, like you could have a mature buck living on an 80-acre parcel, and that's leased by a gun hunter that's going to shoot him. I mean, come first opening weekend of gun, and he's going to be sitting in his pickup truck over a field edge watching the timber he's got his lease on. Which, I mean, a lot of people is going to be like, well, that's smart hunting. But, I mean, it's just we get a lot of deer that shouldn't get killed that way.
Yeah, that it's sad because
I just want to die, dude.
What the hell is going on with you, man? Something's going on. It's like my heart hurts. Let's go, man. Now.
I'm sorry.
Now.
I'm sorry, man. I'm just so sad.
Stop.
yeah. It's exactly what it is. As soon as that first muzzleloader goes, well, I'm like, oh man, I quit.
And it sounds so here in Michigan, they sent out an article basically of everything that a lot of hunters in Michigan wanted changed. Obviously, number one was we wanted a 1 buck state. Another one was, I don't think it was on it, but we want the gun season move pushed back because rut is right there, smack dab in the middle of the November, and obviously those got declined. But it sounds like states that have a 2 buck tag are a lot of the hunters are wanting to get that 1 buck tag, and I can see both sides of the coin on it because you got the people out there hunting and they just want to shoot bucks and they want to European mount, whatever. They want to get meat in the freezer, say I shot a buck. Great. Yeah. I'm not discarding that. Jordan, Cody's dumbass carried his bow and saw a giant during gun.
Yeah, I did. It was like 150-inch 9-pointer at 80 yards for 2 hours.
Dang.
Yeah, I was sick.
Well,
I grabbed my gun, and it was like last couple days. It's like November 30th. I was like, I'm going to take my gun today. I was like, nah, I'm going to take my bow. I feel good about it. And I took my bow, and easy pushing. He probably was mid 150 9-pointer.
Wow.
Came across the ridge. Whenever he crossed the ridge, he hung up at 80 yards, and a little buck went over and played with him for a minute, and he never did come over.
Oh, man.
Sick.
No, but I was saying a lot of hunters are wanting that 1 buck because they want to see the genetics get back to good quality, especially in Michigan. It sounds like the same thing, and the genetics are going down, and somewhat more hunters, I guess, out there trophy hunting. But you got the other side of the coin where people are out there like, well, don't take away my 2 bucks because I want deer meat. But I don't know about North Carolina. Here in Michigan, we have a bad doe population, so they're compensating that by with more doe tags. But the price on them it's not steep, but in today's economy, thanks Biden, it's steep. And so it's like you can't please everyone, but I say try it out for a couple of years. It might suck. You're gonna piss some people off, but you gotta try something new to change the deer herd that you have, especially if you want to fix it for future generations. Because you can go out to the public and to the media and say, we want to change, you want to do this, but you're not fucking doing anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does kind of all come back on us a little bit. But, I mean, you got a lot of people now that the problem is there's so many people that are tree huggers and just want to see them eat apples out of their apple tree in their backyard that it's hurting their genetics. I was like, I've completely changed a dynamic of a farm over shooting does. Like this year is the best this place has ever been. I've got a huge bachelor group. There's not a lot of does. Bucks aren't competing for a place to be. And it's because I shoot 4 does off of it every year. And like, I'm going to tell you right now, does eat just as good as the bucks do. And if you got 4 doe tags, fill them doe tags first 3 weeks of season, and you ain't going to go hungry for at least a couple months. And you can save them buck tags for a mature buck, and that mature buck that weighs 250 pounds is going to fill even more freezer space than that 100 pound spike.
Right. It's basically at that point, you're just shooting a doe on steroids, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even a 2.5-year-old buck is like, he's not much bigger body size than a doe is.
no.
3, 4, 5, then you really start seeing the difference. I'm trying to kill them bucks that look like they've had a saddle on them like a horse their whole life, with a big swooping back and a big old pot belly. It looks like he drinks beer every night in his recliner. That's what I'm trying to shoot.
I kid you not. Last year was my very first year seeing like a 9-year-old deer, and this dude looked like he was 90 years old. He'd been drinking beer his entire life. I mean, I guessed in a way close to 230, 240, maybe 250. Yeah. I mean, this was a fat deer. I mean, you could just see it's like a jack dude with just ripped legs in this deer. And it was a 4-pointer, and he was like this big, just like that. And I was like, I don't care about his antlers. I just want him because look at the body on that deer. I only saw him 3 times on camera, and I already filled one of my tags, and I was after one of my other giants that I called Geronimo. Obviously, I would have shot Geronimo if he came in front of me, but I wouldn't have been sad filling both my buck tags, and he was my last buck to shoot. I would have been, look at this dude, man.
I went out to Illinois last year to hunt some public, and the buck that I ended up shooting, I haven't got him aged yet, but there's a friend of ours that it lives close by to where I was at, and he asked me about the piece of public that I was on, and I told him that was it. He had pictures of this deer as a 2.5-year-old 8 years ago.
Really?
And this deer weighed 275 pounds with the guts in it.
Dang.
So, I mean, at least 10. And, I mean, he didn't go, I think he scored like 121. And, I mean, he was just a big spike with palmated spikes, but he wasn't this wide. And he was like this tall off his head. And he had a bunch of little jagged points all over his head. But, like, that right there is what I like. I mean, he walked in, he looked like his belly was dragging around. He's waited to go rut in the middle of the night. He had to get up out of his recliner and stretch for 20 minutes. That's what that deer looked like. Every joint popped whenever he got out of his bed.
Let me ask you this question then. You have a lot of people say a mature deer is 5 years old. Okay, yeah, mature deer is 5 years old. But to me, a real mature deer is 7-8-year-olds plus.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I've got a great example. So I have a buck. I've named him Big Lou. Jordan knows about Big Lou. Big Lou's been the bane of my existence for years. Big Lou showed up 3 years ago. I thought he might have been a 3-4-year-old 8-pointer. Just normal looking buck. And then the next year he showed up, big heavy brisket, big swaying back, but still just a little bitty. I mean, 80 inches max. But I mean, he's 300 pounds. This deer's, for a North Carolina deer, this deer's pushing 250. I mean, really, he's 250, 270 pounds. Giant bodied deer. That's where his name came from, because he's a big bully, and he takes every other deer in there and whips shit out. Well, last year, I only got 3 pictures of him, but he was just a clean 10-pointer, but still that real tight frame. I mean, real nice 2s, 3s, and 4s, but he's 10 inches wide. Well, this year, I'm guessing this deer probably at least 8 got his best frame, and he actually might go Pope and Young now. Now, he's a little bit wider, but he's got real long beams. His 2s, 3s, and 4s are all real nice. The only thing that's going to hurt him is he's still 13 inches wide.
Jordan, Cody, you need to name your arrow Louisville Slugger if you ever get going to have a chance to kill him.
Yeah, dude, like that buck is. I'm going to have to share some photos of that one, because, well,
I'm going to need to see this deer.
Yeah, dude, and that just goes to, I mean, show you're right. I mean, once they reach that 7, 8-year-old, that's whenever they're actually their biggest. I didn't think he'd get any bigger than what he was the year that he was an 8-pointer and he showed up, because, I mean, he was tight-racked 8-pointer. He looked healthy, had a really stalky build, very muscular, had that big belly, the swaying back, but you could tell that he was mature to an extent. He might have been 6. And then whenever he was a 10-pointer, you could really tell. Like, he's top dog. He owns this mountain. Every scrape that's on this place gets checked by him. Now this year, I'm getting him on camera every day, and I made something specifically for him. And I don't know if y'all do it. Yeah.
He's an 11-inch wide Pope and Young deer.
Yeah. I made a post scrape, or like a rub post with rope for a scrape just for him, and he's hit it for days since I put a camera out.
Wow. Well, then it kind of leads me to a question here is, if you have what you're guessing is to be close to a 4.5 to 5-year-old deer, and let's just say he's going to score 185, 190. You have another deer that's going to score, let's just say, highballing 100. But you know this is an 8, 9-year-old deer, and he's just a fat fuck.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to shoot?
How regular is the 4 or 5-year-old?
All right, let's make it easy. You're seeing them both on a consistent basis.
That's tough because, all right, I'm going to give you an example. Big Lou, same thing, coming in every day. I know of a buck that's crossing a highway on a farm I got permission to, that's probably going to be 150 plus. I'm probably still going to go hunt Big Lou first. Honest to God, Jordan's going to call me a dumbass. Go ahead. But I'm going to go kill the deer that I know I'll be happier with in the long run, just because it's the history and it's his age, man. You beat that age class. That's more of a feat to me than killing. Like, I got a 140-inch 10-pointer that's 3 years old where I work, and I get him on camera all day, every day. I could go shoot him in season, out of season. I ain't worried about him going nowhere. He's young deer doing young deer things. He's just got a nice rack. If I can get him a way to make him survive, then
Frank Lewis, y'all ever done any Eastern North Carolina black bear hunting?
I haven't.
I haven't.
I don't care.
Eli, flood them. What's the scariest thing you've ever seen out there in the sticks?
Man, we can get into that, but if you want to keep talking deer, we can keep talking deer, because I've seen some spooky stuff in these mountains.
Like ghosts?
Yeah. Figures of some sort. And, Jordan can attest to that too. We've seen some real spooky shit.
All right, give me your, let's do this. Give me your number one.
My number one. All right, so it was 2019. I was hunting a place next to a river. We call it the New River. And there, for reference, there's a Civil War burial site on the neighbor's property. Okay, so paint the picture. It's a real thick pine thicket for like a timber, like to cut off eventually, and it's real thick. You can't really see through it, and then it comes up big oak flat, and you can see 200 yards down the oak flat. Well, I had a friend of mine that was hunting with me, and he was on the bottom side of the pine thicket, and I was up on the oak flat. So I heard what sounded like footsteps, but I was like, I played it off. I was like, neighbor's probably doing something, because neighbors hunted too. so I didn't pay any attention to it. And then a doe came in, shot her, and I was like, all right, cool, we got some meat. I texted my buddy that was down below me. I was like, hey, man, I just shot a doe. I'm going to hang out if you want to keep hunting, but I'm ready to go whenever you are. And he was like, I'm going to hang out for a little bit longer. Well, I kept hearing footsteps down below me on the other side. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get down. I'm going to get this doe gutted. And, yeah. And I got her gutted, and I was, just kind of hanging out. And the steps I kept hearing them and kept hearing them and kept hearing them. And I was like, what in the world is that? And my buddy, he texts me. He's like, hey, I'm going to come up there. I have to drag her out. So he comes up, and we both hear the footsteps. And so I know I'm not crazy. And, I mean, it just sounds like somebody walking in the leaves, not really threatening. It's just like, where are they at?
Mm.
Well, we start dragging this doe down because, I mean, it's 200 yards from the truck, and it's all downhill through pine needles. So we just take off pulling her down the hill. And we stopped for a minute to see if we could still hear them footsteps, and they're faster. It's like whatever it is running. And like, I'm getting cold chills just talking about it. It freaks me out, man. So we get to the truck, throw the doe up on the truck, and I turn around and look, and I see a pine tree that's kind of by itself right at the entrance of this place. And sticking out behind it is a silhouette of shoulders and a head. I'm like, who the fuck is that? I grab my binos and I throw my binos up. Nothing. Void. Black. Shadow. And it just pops back behind the tree. I said, we got to go. We got to go. We got to get out of here. So we leave. And then a couple years later, same property, my buddy that I was in the Army with seen the same thing after shooting it up. He called me, and he's a very avid outdoorsman, never afraid to go anything in the woods. He called me running to his truck. He said, I don't know what I just seen, but there was a black figure standing right next to the tree stand as I came back up with this doe. I'm coming home.
What?
Yeah. Same property, same tree stand, same everything.
You need to call ghost hunters out there now.
Dude, it's freaky. I don't know if they'd like to be out there or not, man. I can't be in them woods over there after dark. Anywhere else I hunt, it don't bother me none, but that one property, dude, I can't do it.
Wow, that's cool and creepy all in the same time.
Yeah, dude, it's.
Alrighty then.
So, have you ever seen the movie Pumpkinhead?
Yeah.
That old devil-like creature that was summoned up. Jordan, it was me fucking with him.
Jordan's got a lease right next to that property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
my dad made me watch it when I was like 13.
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not. I would be coming home from hunting when the sun was just starting to set in prime time, right?
Yeah.
And Dad's like, when'd you get in? Right when the sun was going down? He goes, why? Pumpkinhead, Daddy's gonna get me. I'm scared. I kid you not. Even to this day, sometimes I'll hear like a twig break, and I'm like, Pumpkinhead.
Dude, speaking about bears, like I get not so much anymore, but I mean, still, sometimes I'll be sitting in a tree and I'll be looking at something underneath there, and he's like, is that a bear? You know what my dumb ass will do? I'll turn the light on. So I'm waiting for the day I do that, and it is a bear sitting at the base of my tree. What am I going to do then? I got a pistol, but I mean, what's the bear going to do? Is the bear going to like try to come up the tree? Is it going to run? Like, are we going to stalemate and be like, all right, who wins? Like, that's the bear's going to be just as freaked out as me. He's going to be minding his own business. Next thing you know, he's got a light over top of him. He ain't going to know what to do. Just
right.
he gonna be in my lap with me? Is he gonna come up a tree, scare him so bad?
Well, Cody, this was one of my most interesting shows doing, and I'm greatly appreciative for this. So I got 5 rapid fire questions here for you before I let you go. Okay.
Okay.
What is one state you want to hunt in that you haven't hunted yet?
Probably Indiana.
All right.
Interesting choice, I know, but like I was always your typical one, and it's a draw. So like I'm going to get there eventually, but Indiana's definitely a bucket list state for whitetail.
No, I've considered even moving to Indiana just for whitetails, Republican
Yeah, dude.
state.
I ran
I want to do it.
a random stranger at a gas station coming home from one of my Illinois trips, and this dude had killed like 2 giants that year. I think it's a $2 state. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was either he had killed one the year prior and the same year, or both that year. But I mean, they're like 160s, and he was talking about. I'm like, yeah, I thought about letting them go. I'm like, huh? You said what? 160? Wow, and it could never, ever. I can't let a 120 walk, much less a 160.
Right. All right. You can't pick your state, but what is one state that you'd move to solely for hunting?
Illinois.
Illinois?
Yeah.
I like that one. I like that one.
I've got some love for Illinois over the past couple of years, man. I love it.
So, third one here. What animal is on your bucket list that you want to hunt, and with what weapon?
I want to do Alaskan caribou with a bow.
I talked to Derek from New Mexico, and he wants to shoot. He wants to hunt a caribou.
Yeah. I think it would either be caribou or like a bighorn sheep with a bow.
Frank coming in here saying, you ever done any Pitt County whitetail hunting?
No, I haven't. The only out of county hunting I've ever done in Allegheny, or not Allegheny, but Ash. I went and played around on some public, and then some of the other public that we've got is like the neighboring county. It's like the county lines, the public land. So it technically it'd be like Wilkes County.
Okay. Do you have any hunting superstitions? If so, what are they?
Not really. I don't think. I mean, like riding on your arrow for like a good luck arrow or something. Well, okay, kill caps. So, like, I definitely will pick out a kill cap for the season. And if I don't kill a deer within a certain amount of time while wearing that hat, or say I make a bad shot, then I'll.
Last question here. What is one thing that you can think of? And let me backtrack. What is one thing that you can think of that we as a hunting community should or could do to improve the hunting community?
Okay. So this could go a bunch of different ways. One thing that I know we can do is, instead of bashing other people for shooting, you can say smaller bucks or whatever, like, you know, you got the guy every year that buys all of his equipment and then shoots 2 spikes. Well, instead of bashing him over shooting those 2 spikes or 110-inch deer in a good quality area, actually try to teach the man or the woman or the kid the benefits of letting those adolescent deer grow into something more mature, instead of just talking shit on Facebook or whatever. Like, kids nowadays can't even post trophy photos without somebody saying some negative stuff, and I hate that. So, like, instead of being negative, like, oh, you should let that deer walk or whatever, be positive and be a good influence to those people, because they probably don't have any learning. And if some people could still be an ass, but I mean, a lot of those people probably just don't know. They don't know what they're looking for. I mean, you got to think, people that hunt like we do, there's not a lot of us in the grand scheme of things. I mean, you got people like us in areas, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there that's just getting into it. They don't know what a good deer is, or a bad deer, or really what a young buck is, and what's the benefit of shooting, tagging out on does. So I think what we should do is take those people learning under our wing and really try to help them instead of just bashing them.
I mean, we get, as a hunting community, we get so much pressure from the outside of, like, for instance, those tree huggers that we were mentioning earlier, where it's like you shoot deer and they start bashing on us, and why are we basically hurting ourselves? And I don't know your hunting story. I don't know your hunting lifestyle, your experience, or anything like that. So my situation might be completely different than yours. So you're right. I agree with you 100%. To bash each other as for hunting is a terrible thing, and it definitely needs to stop. And yeah. I agree with you 100%, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, everyone that's probably watching knows Seek One, and he was talking about, and it's not just other hunters. I mean, it's the people that bash hunting, because he made a really good point. He's like, the woman that he was talking to was saying, I wish you was dead because you like to hunt deer. And he's like, what'd you tell my mom? Like, you don't have to jump into it like that. But I mean, there's an elderly woman that lives next to us, and I was scouting some bucks right across the road, and she's walked up. She's like, what are you doing? And I just explained it to her. And I was like, I'm just watching some deer. I like to deer hunt and stuff. And she's like, oh, and I'm like, wait. I can already tell that you don't like that. Let me explain. And I explained it to her that, there's a passion behind it. There's a reason why I like to do it. There's, I get so invested in all these bucks and stuff that I like to hunt. And she had no idea that was even a thing. She thought that we just went out and just mowed them down. And I explained it to her that that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you still got some bad apples, but like a lot of us actually take a lot of time to really invest in having these target animals and the mature bucks and stuff like that. And he was shocked.
Yeah, there's the bad apples out there, just like in any type of niche, really, of like they're breaking the laws and stuff like that. But if 99.8% of hunters, we're doing the right ethical thing. And if you just sat down with, like, if you're someone that's against hunting, do you know really what we do as hunters? We're not just out there killing animals at whim. We're out there trying to do a good and provide meat for our families. And we're only doing like 1 tag, 2 tags, whatever. We're not out there slaughtering all these deer.
Yeah.
And we're following the law. Just that's allowed for us to do. So I'd be willing to sit down and talk to people that are against hunting. I'll sit down if someone's willing to have a adult conversation. But if you have those other people out there, they're like, nope, I don't care what you say. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm not going to waste my time and breath on you because it's not even fucking worth it.
I mean, you'd be surprised at people that actually enjoy learning about that stuff that just don't know. Exactly. Like, there's always that one dickhead that just don't want to listen to nothing. But there's a lot of people out there that actually kind of find it interesting that we care so much about it.
Yeah.
And it's like a breath of fresh air whenever you run into those.
I like it. Well, Cody, I just want to say thank you again for sharing some stories you got. I really greatly appreciate you coming on the show. For anybody that wants to reach out to you and learn more about you and stuff like that, how can they do so?
Facebook, Instagram. I think my Instagram's CC Hunt, and my Facebook's obviously my. I do share some stuff on the TikToks. It's not a lot, but some of it's kind of just me goofing off. And I think my TikTok name's Blue Ridge Bow Hunter. I think. Or you just look my name up. I'm sure it'll pop up. But yeah, feel free to any social media. I mean, anybody's more than welcome to reach out. I can talk about deer hunting all day, so listen, do it at your own win.
Well, Cody, again, I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show, man. We'll talk to you later, man. Hope you have a good rest of your night, man. Oh, man, what a great guy, and I'm glad he came on the show. I was really looking forward to him coming on when we were able to, quote-unquote, book him for the show, so excited about that. That's going to conclude an episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. I'd like to say thank you for everyone that's tuned in for tonight's show. Drop some questions. I want to say, like I said in the show, that was probably my favorite interesting show I've had so far doing this. Learning more about bear hunting out in North Carolina and some ghost stories. I didn't realize we get into ghost stories, but hey, I love it, man. Anyways, I'll leave it brief because we all know what I'm going to say, but thank you everyone for tuning in for tonight's show. Make sure to tune in Thursday, August 22nd for our next episode 100, and make sure you put your quarter in the slot machine.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.